It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon at the grocery store. Nothing unusual. People pushing carts, the soft hum of refrigerators, the occasional beeping at the checkout counter. But near aisle 5, something happened that froze everyone in place. A man, tall, weathered, lost in thought, was reaching for a box of cereal. He looked like the kind of man who'd given up smiling a long time ago. But then, a tiny hand tugged at the edge of his coat. He looked down. A small boy, no older than 5, stood there with the purest, widest eyes. And with a soft voice that could break the hardest heart, the child asked, "Dad?" The man blinked. He looked around, confused. The boy didn't budge. Shoppers began to slow their steps. One woman stopped mid-scroll on her phone. Even the cashier paused her beeping. Time seemed to hold its breath. What followed wasn't just shocking. It changed the lives of 3 people forever. Bestie, if you believe in fate, if you've ever felt like life has a mysterious way of bringing the right people together, then this story will speak directly to your soul. Tap subscribe and stay with me, because what happened next is one of the most touching reunions you'll ever hear. His name was Jacob Whitmore, a construction worker by trade, a man of few words, strong hands, and even stronger silences. Life had been anything but kind to him. A decade ago, he had everything: steady work, a home filled with laughter, and a baby boy with eyes just like his. But all of it had vanished like a dream he could never get back. His wife, Leah, had left without a trace. One morning, he woke up to find her gone. No note, no call, no goodbye. And their infant son, barely 6 months old, gone with her. Jacob searched everywhere, hired private investigators, sat for hours at police stations, even posted handwritten notes in gas stations and diners across state lines. But nothing ever came back. Eventually, people told him to move on. But Jacob never really did. He kept a photo of his baby boy in his wallet, faded, wrinkled, and worn like a sacred scripture. He told himself he wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of hoping. Tired of aching. Tired of life handing him closed doors with no answers. And so he stopped smiling. He started working long hours. Rarely talked to anyone unless it was about cement mixes or job deadlines. He didn't date. Didn't celebrate holidays. For 10 long years, he existed. But he didn't really live. Until that afternoon in the grocery store, when a little boy with his son's eyes, same color, same glint, same hopeful gaze, looked up at him and said the word he hadn't heard in a decade: "Dad." Jacob didn't know what to say. His throat tightened. He wanted to kneel, to ask the boy questions, to believe. But he also knew he couldn't afford to hope again. Not unless he was sure. And yet, deep inside something stirred. Something raw and old and sacred. A whisper he'd buried long ago. Could it be? The moment Jacob locked eyes with the little boy, a woman came rushing down the aisle, panic all over her face. "Aiden!" she gasped, dropping to her knees and pulling the child into her arms. "You can't run off like that." Jacob stood frozen, watching them. The boy clung to her, but kept glancing back at Jacob. "I'm so sorry," the woman said breathlessly. "He has this habit of calling strangers Dad. We're working on it." But Jacob wasn't listening to her apology. He was staring, not at the woman's face, but at her necklace. It was a small, delicate gold pendant, a teardrop shape, with an engraving that read, LJW. His breath caught. He had given Leah a necklace just like that, on their son's first Christmas. It was a custom piece. Only one was ever made. And now, it was hanging on the neck of this stranger. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice gravelly. The woman's eyes widened. "It was a gift, from someone very special," she replied cautiously. Jacob took a step closer. "Leah. Her name was Leah." Her face lost all color. "How do you know that name?" she whispered. Jacob's heart pounded. "Because she was my wife. And you're wearing her necklace. And that boy." He looked at Aiden again, at the way his chin dimpled when he was nervous, just like Jacob used to. The thick lashes. The smile that curled only on one side. The woman swallowed hard. Her voice was shaking. I'm not Leah. My name is Maya. But I know who she was. She was my best friend. And she asked me to raise Aiden before she passed away. The words hit Jacob like thunder. Passed away. Leah was gone. Maya nodded, tears forming. Leah was diagnosed with an aggressive illness. She didn't want Aiden in foster care. So, she begged me to take him in and raise him as my own. Jacob stumbled back, emotions crashing into each other. Grief, relief, anger, disbelief. She never told me, he whispered. She never gave me a chance. I know, Maya said softly. She was scared. She told me she didn't want you to see her like that. Dying. Silence fell between them, heavy and sacred. Jacob knelt down slowly, eye to eye with Aiden. Why did you call me Dad? He asked gently. Aiden shrugged. I don't know. You just looked like someone I missed. This moment was no longer a coincidence. It was fate. And it was just the beginning. That night, Jacob couldn't sleep. He sat alone in his tiny apartment, holding the necklace in his palm. Maya had taken it off and handed it to him like it belonged to a ghost neither of them could reach anymore. But for Jacob, it wasn't just a chain. It was the last piece of Leah. The final clue in a decade-long search that ended in heartbreak and something else entirely. Hope. But hope could be dangerous. Was Aiden really his son? Or was this just life dangling another illusion in front of a man who had already lost too much? The next morning, Jacob showed up at Maya's modest townhouse. I need to know, he said. Not just for me. For him. Maya nodded slowly. I was hoping you'd say that. They scheduled a DNA test at a local clinic. 3 swabs. 2 signatures. 1 week to wait. Each day crawled by. Jacob tried to distract himself, hammering nails, lifting beams, mixing cement. But his mind kept drifting to Aiden's voice, the way the boy had instinctively reached for his hand. Like something deep inside them recognized each other. A week later, Jacob received a call. It was positive. 99.9% match. He was Aiden's father. But that wasn't the end of the story. It was the beginning of the hardest question yet. What now? Maya had been raising Aiden for nearly 5 years. She was the only mother he knew. She didn't have much, but she gave the boy love, stability, and bedtime stories. She told Jacob, I don't want to lose him, but I won't keep him from you either. Jacob sat in silence, watching Aiden build a Lego tower on the living room rug. The boy looked up and smiled. Are you gonna stay for dinner again? His heart cracked. He had waited 10 years for this moment, dreamt of finding his son. But now that he had him, he wasn't sure if taking Aiden home was the right thing. Would it help the boy, or hurt him? That night, Jacob asked Maya if he could talk to Aiden alone. Hey buddy, Jacob said gently, sitting beside him. I've got something important to tell you. Aiden looked up, curious. I'm your real dad. And I love you. I've loved you since before you could even walk. Aiden blinked. Does that mean I'm leaving? Jacob hesitated. Only if you want to. Maya will always be part of your life. And so will I. You don't have to choose. Aiden leaned his head on Jacob's shoulder and whispered, Can I have both of you? Jacob felt his throat tighten again. Yeah, kid. You can. Because sometimes, family isn't about blood or names or who tucks you in at night. It's about love. And love had found its way home. A few months later, Aiden was graduating from kindergarten. It was a warm spring day. The gymnasium at the local elementary school was decorated with hand-painted signs and crayon-colored drawings. Parents sat in metal chairs, fanning themselves with printed programs as the children lined up in paper hats, singing the alphabet song out of tune. Jacob stood in the back, heart pounding in his chest. This was the first time he had ever attended a school event as someone's father. He wasn't sure where he belonged. Was he just a guest? A helper? Would Aiden even acknowledge him in front of all these people? He didn't want to overstep. He stood beside Maya quietly. She gave him a small smile. He asked me to invite you. He really wanted you here. Jacob nodded, swallowing emotion. When Aiden walked onto the small wooden stage with his class, he scanned the crowd immediately. The moment his eyes found Jacob's, he grinned so wide the corners of his hat tilted. Then came the surprise. As the teacher began announcing awards, most creative, best reader, kindest heart, Aiden tugged at her dress and whispered something into her ear. She looked confused at first, then smiled, and handed Aiden the microphone. The gym hushed. Aiden, small and brave and standing a little too close to the mic, cleared his throat and said, "I want to say thank you to someone special." A few kids giggled. Parents looked around. I didn't have a dad before, but now I do. And he's right there. He pointed, straight at Jacob. The entire room turned. Jacob froze, stunned. His heart thundered in his chest. People whispered. Some clapped. Some looked confused. But none of that mattered. Because Aiden said, he came back for me, even when he didn't know where I was. And that's what real dads do. Jacob's knees nearly gave out. He wasn't a man known for crying. Not on job sites. Not in courtrooms. Not even when Leah left. But in that moment, tears streamed down his face. Freely, fiercely, beautifully. Maya reached out and held his hand. No one in that room knew their full story, but they felt the weight of that moment. Love had been lost, but it had found its way back. In the most unexpected way, through the most innocent voice. And in the middle of a noisy gym full of juice boxes and graduation caps, a little boy reminded everyone of a simple truth. Sometimes, the people we're searching for are searching for us too. Life didn't become a fairy tale overnight. There were still late bills, tough conversations, and co-parenting hurdles with Maya's ex who occasionally reappeared only to disappear again. But something had changed permanently. Jacob had a reason to live again. He didn't just show up for Aiden's graduation. He showed up for everything after that. He became the lunchbox packing, science project building, bad joke telling kind of dad. The one who sat through spelling bees with sweaty palms and practiced soccer drills in the front yard, even if he wasn't very good at them. The one who whispered, "I'm proud of you," every chance he got. Maya. She had never seen anyone love her son like this. She also never expected someone to love her this patiently, this gently. Their relationship wasn't rushed. It was built, moment by moment. Trust returned like the sunrise, steady and slow. There were awkward dinners, learning each other's quirks, navigating boundaries. But under it all, a quiet knowing. Jacob had lost his son once. He wasn't going to lose this family again. Aiden's drawings at school now had 3 people in them. Himself, his mom, and a tall man with a crooked smile labeled, "My Dad." One day, Aiden asked Jacob if he could start calling him Dad all the time. Jacob didn't answer right away. He just knelt, hugged Aiden tight, and said, "I'd be honored." Sometimes, life takes away the things we hold dearest, without warning, without mercy. But sometimes, life brings them back in ways we never saw coming. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that second chances are real. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Because here at SoulTwist Stories, we share powerful tales that remind you, love always finds a way.